Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and today I've got something a little different for you. So, with this channel, I'm not really uploading in a regular fashion. I'm just kind of uploading whenever I have an idea, something I want to talk about. And one of the goals with this channel was not necessarily just to do a how to play X Spirit guide, although those are the most popular kinds of videos. My goal is really to help provide the tools to players to let them improve their skills. And I believe that if you learn the game at a more fundamental level, and you learn skills that are broadly applicable to all kinds of different spirits, that will make you a better player than if you're just like, the greatest wildfire player in the world, but you don't even know like what to do with volcano. You can't even understand the spirit at all, right? I feel like a well-rounded player is probably going to be a better player, right? I'd rather play with someone who can beat every adversary at level 4 with every spirit, as opposed to someone who can, get every single level 6 or like double adversaries solo with vengeance, but, they struggle with 2s with every other spirit in the game. But that's just me. But what I want to talk about today is how to deal with complexity, how to process a complex board, simplify it in your mind, and use this information in order to make better choices. And the mechanism, this is something that I really genuinely do for myself, the way that I think about the game, the way that I view the board, is to basically visualize a heat map on top of the board. Heat map being like, your reds is where you're strong, oranges is where you're, medium but slightly strong, okay, and then blues where you're weak, maybe like a dark blue where you're really struggling as a spirit. An example of what I mean by that, I'm going to put up on the screen, heat maps for Ocean, right? Ocean is a spirit that, is very dominant on the coast, right? You go up on the coast, you just eat things for free, you get tons of energy, right? You're very dominant, you're very powerful. Everything that is inland, anything that is not a coastal land, you are weaker. Now, you do okay, one range away from a coastal land. You could use things, such as that card that lets you gather and explore to deny a build or two from one of those lands. You could gather those explorers into a coastal land, but you're still weaker in those lands. And certainly anything that's 2 away from a coastal land, you're really going to struggle with. Now, another spirit could be something like Volcano. Here up on the screen, I've got, just boards F and C put together. And if Volcano were to start right there, right in the dead center on that mountain, you can see in that mountain, they are extremely strong. Everywhere that is adjacent to that mountain, they are, still strong. 2 range away, all right, you're a lot less powerful. Now your left innate can no longer reach there. A lot of your power cards, because that +1 range, they can still get there, but not being able to use an innate, right, you just lose a little bit of strength. And then anything that's beyond that, I put in blue, because, it's just very uncommon to come across power cards that have more than 1 range. So it's very unlikely you're going to be able to get over there and really do anything at all. In a similar way, heat maps can also apply to invaders. So a very simple one would be Scotland. Scotland is very strong on the coast. All of their bonuses make them better on the coast. Okay, that's where they're dominant. So we could take a look at the invader's heat map and compare it to a spirit's heat map and start to use that as a mechanism by which to analyze a matchup, right? Ocean is dominant against Scotland because where Scotland is strong, where Scotland's going to try and win the game, is exactly the same place where Ocean is dominant and where Ocean's going to win the game, right? In general, spirits are stronger than adversaries. So if both the spirit and the adversary are dominant in a land, at least in broad terms, if they're both hot, they're both strong in that land, 9 times out of 10, the spirit will come out ahead. Now, we can obviously take the opposite of ocean, and that would be Lure of the Deep Wilderness. Why does Lure struggle into the Scotland matchup? Well, where Lure is strong is not where Scotland is strong. Scotland's trying to win the game in an area where Lure struggles to interact with, and that's why that can be a really, really tough matchup for Lure to play. Another types of things you could look at, maybe England, right? Once England hits like that 4 building threshold, 5 buildings in a single land, then just like 1 build card plus an escalation is an automatic loss. So England is very strong anywhere where there's 5 buildings. You could look at something like France. Let's say France has like 5 explorers in a single land for whatever reason. They are very strong in that land. That's enough to basically just win the game on the spot with 1 build. So on and so forth. And, Russia with 3 explorers, and, Sweden anywhere they can do 6 damage. Yada, yada, yada. So if basically by using like a heat map, we can visualize where we are strong, where the enemy is strong, and we can use that as a means by which to adjust our game plan. And doing this, if you're in a multiplayer game looking at lots of spirits, you can start to identify setups and areas where perhaps you're not the best spirit to deal with your own starting board. Maybe it is more effective and more efficient for another spirit to come in and basically solve one of your lands for you. I also think that having these really big hot and cold areas is a hidden way that spirits become a higher complexity. So if we take a look at some of the low complexity spirits, river is basically the same in everywhere on the entire board. It's easier for them to make sacred sites by wetlands, so yeah, they're a little warmer there, they're a little stronger there, but not by a significant amount. If you ever find a pocket where you need to make a sacred site, you just do it. And then you're equally as effective there as you are anywhere else. Lightning is a similar way. As long as you have a sacred site, you're good. You're really unrestrained. Whereas a higher complexity spirit, such as Heart of the Wildfire, you need to be in lands with blight. You need to create your own blight. Trying to remove blight is basically neutering your own ability to be effective. So that creates a lot of complexity because your left innate and your right innate basically are pushing in 2 different directions. You could argue that your right innate makes you as a spirit weaker. So that dichotomy, that push and pull is one of those hidden things with Wildfire that once you really start to play the spirit and you see that tension, that like, oh wow, this spirit's really hard to play. In a similar way, maybe you have spirits that are very mobile, that move around. So like Sharp Fangs and Thunderspeaker are 2 spirits where their presence move a lot and their damage is tied to either the tokens or the Dahan. So if you run all of your tokens or all of your Dahan to one side of the board, you're all suddenly a lot weaker on the other side, right? Let's say we run everything to the coast and then land number 8 starts blowing up. Well, that's going to take a lot of work to get over there before we can actually interact and do anything. So, a land can flip back and forth between being a strong land or a weak land every single turn, depending on the context. And so this is genuinely something that I think about, that way that I see the game. You might have heard me say in other playthroughs where I'm like, oh yeah, we're strong here, or the enemies are strong here. So, anyways, that's my wild, crazy way of thinking about the game. I'm going to play for you now a playthrough of a game I did recently, Sharp Fangs versus Sweden 6. And every single turn I take a pause to take a look at that heat map, what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking. And this is really a different way of filtering the same information. Hopefully, this is useful to you. You might find a way to become less stressed dealing with these complex situations. And anyways, hope you enjoy it. So our opening explore is going to be a wetlands, and royal backing will go down in the mountains. So before we do any of our opening actions, this is what the heat map is going to look like. We are weaker in the lands with blight because we cannot use our ranging hunt in those lands. I also marked land number 2 as a weak land because we have no presence adjacent to it. So we won't be able to get beasts into that land particularly quickly or easily. Lands 1, 3, and 4 I've marked as inconclusive because I don't have enough information yet to decide if that's a strong land or a weak land. So I don't want to really commit either way. So because we are starting off with a wetlands explorer and none of the wetlands are strong, that just means that it's going to be a little bit of a trickier opening. I know right off the bat that going straight into using ranging hunt over and over again right off the beginning of the game is not going to be how I can win this game because it doesn't actually solve any of the wetlands, so I'm not able to get myself ahead. So therefore I'm going to have to see what cards I gain in order to really figure out what I can and cannot do this turn. So we know that we have to gain some kind of card in order to work our way out. So let's see what we get. A couple of choices are kind of a dud, but Sap is a great card for us. It has one of our elements and is to defend 5. Remember that against Sweden, cities do 5 damage, towns do 3 damage, which means that a Sap by itself cannot stop a town explorer in a city as it can against any other adversary. So as you see, we play Terrifying Chase, so that way I can push out an explorer in a town and I can have it defend 5 against a city's 5 damage. I forgot to move one of my presents in during the fast phase with my left innate, so we'll just, don't worry about it. We'll just do that right now. But that was part of the plan. Choosing to go into the Blighted Land so that we don't have a Blight Cascade, and also so we can use the Dahan to fight back during the defense. Or because of the defense, we can fight back with the Dahan. So now we're just executing the plan, Terrifying Chase. And then we can just add a beast to the board. Teeth Gleam is an important card to play a lot in the early game, because without a significant number of beasts, you're just not able to do damage. And so we're adding a beast to our jungle. That way we can do 3 beasts, kill off everything, and just don't even have to worry about the jungle. So at the end of turn number 1, this is how the board looks. The wetlands was pretty scary for us. However, the jungle is where we are strong. We already have a couple beasts in the high jungle, and then in the low jungle, there's only 1 explorer there. So it's not like a huge problem. We can always just throw a Sap in there and, it's good to go because of all that Dahan. Or we can, add some beasts and actually aggressively kill things. Now, because we've got our Wetlands 8 solved, we now are saying that we are strong in that land, right? We've got it solved. Sand 6 has been downgraded, is now we no longer have a beast, and now there's invaders there, so it's inconclusive which way that can go. Once again, we could do the exact same plan. We could push out the explorer in the town and then just defend the city and the explorer if that were to come up next. Wetlands number 4 is definitely a weak land. We're just planning on taking Blight. We have Blight and cannot ranging hunt in 5. And now because the next card to be explored is going to be a stage 2, Sands number 1 could be very dangerous for us. If that comes up right now, that would explore as an explorer town, and then we'd lose to Han, and then we'd turn straight to a city. So that could turn into a bit of a mess for us. So I'm saying that's weak. Now that we're established in land number 3, land number 2 is now inconclusive. It could go either way. So yeah. All right, going into turn number 2, we already have our game plan. We know we're going to want to put some defense down, and then we're going to want to ranging hunt in the high jungle, so that way it'll solve those 2 high-numbered lands. It efficiently solves those lands, but it is really nice to solve the inner lands first, the higher number lands first, so that way you can start to isolate things. We have a ton of good cards here. Every single card here you could justifiably take. So Sky's Herald is what we're taking because as both of our elements. However, even that slow power that gathers a Blight is good too. Just being able to move a Blight out of a land gives us access to that ranging hunt, which means that now we can start to kill things in the easy way. But Sky's Herald is the exact same thing, but slightly better and faster. So that's what we chose. But if the cards that we had available to us were different, every single one of those cards is a perfectly justifiable card to take. Here I'm just executing the game plan, defending, killing off everything in the high sands, and ultimately I decided to split across both of these sands. Both of these lands are kind of like right on the edge of being good or not so good, and so if things do start to go bad, I want to make us stronger in those sands by putting beasts there. This fear card gives us a free beast and lets us to kill a Dahan, and this is actually a great thing. This basically completely solves Sands number 1 because, I went in the mountains. I guess the mountains getting the escalation is worse than the sands getting the escalation, so I chose to kill that mountain. But like it makes that land much better for us, right? We might get an event that says beast deal 2 damage. Great, solves the land, and it denies that escalation. Anyways, things play out. We get the build, we get the explore on the coast. And now we can use 2 near the jungle in order to kill off that sands, so that way it's a little bit better. It does not make the land necessarily strong for us, because what if we just get the next card to come up is sands with the escalation. We'll immediately ravage, hitting for 4, and then immediately blight, and then because it's blighted, we won't be able to hit it with the ravaging hunt. This sands number 1 is a really dangerous land for us. This could very quickly and easily tilt in the wrong direction and just ruin everything. But this is how the heat map looks now. Mountains 2, it's kind of wishy-washy, right? Because obviously it's hitting for a lot, but we want to hope it does not come up. If Mountains does not come up as the next card as well, then I think we're going to be in a pretty good place with that land. The jungle, even though there's a lot of invaders there, we have sap, we can kill a few things with our ranging hunt, so we actually have a lot of tools available to us. In fact, because it is a jungle coastland, if we can completely solve it, and we're definitely going to use sap in order to take care of that, in order to let the Dahan do a lot of the work for us, then it suddenly swings into a completely solved land. Because if we can completely clear this land, even if the jungles were to come up next with the escalation, that would be 1 single explorer with 2 Dahan, so it would not trigger the escalation, and things would be going good for us. Over in land number 8, I've marked that off as a strong land because even if it does explore, we now have the ability to move 1 single blight. So we could solve land number 8 before the build happens. In fact, land number 5 I have it still labeled as weak, and I would say that it is still weak, but it is less weak than it was before we gained that card. If that makes sense. Like, it's still not good, but it's a lot more borderline now. Land number 4 is the reason that we will lose this game. If we get wetlands again, land number 4 is the reason we will lose. It is the absolute number 1 biggest threat, and if I ever get a little bit of breathing room, I'm going to invest a lot of energy and thought into how can I solve land number 4. Alright, so going into turn number 3, we have a big land to solve in the jungles, but we have all the tools that we need as long as we do a quick little reclaim. And taking a look at these cards, they're all okay. None of them are great. So, it's a little uninspiring. I don't know. None of these are really just game winners, but we don't need any of these to execute our game plan, right? So we have the sap, and we have the ability to use our ranging hunt. So, it doesn't matter for this turn. So looking forwards, we have what's called Pact of the Joint Hunt, where you can use your Dahan to deal damage. That has good elements for us, but there's not really like Dahan near each other, and we certainly don't want to move one single Dahan and either like break up a pair to leave one guy isolated, and the only one that is isolated isn't adjacent to any other Dahan. So there's just not going to be a lot of positions where that's going to be a high value card. Killing off an Explorer fast is nice. Of course, all three of these cards kill off a single Explorer in a sense, just different ways. So ultimately, I'm going to take the one that's fast and that has good elements. But, I mean, it's good against Sweden, right? Moving a single Explorer prevents a build, prevents a Ravage. But we'll see if we ever use it. Going to add a Presence, transform it into a Beast. So now doing 3 damage, we can kill a town and an Explorer, leaving just a city and an Explorer. Defend 5 against that Ravage for 6 will be enough. Or, I guess, yeah, we kill the city. So now it's only ravaging for 5, not ravaging for 6. Mildly better. You know, plays around the ravages do +1. We're going to push both our beasts into that mountain. So that way we can do 3 damage, kill the city, and leave a single Explorer behind. Okay, we get our event, which allows the beasts to kill off Explorers. So no fear card can create extra damage, so we don't need to worry about playing around that. So we'll just kill off those other Explorers when we can. And then that will deny Explorer into 2 Dahan, which means that we'll deny Explorer into the wetlands or into that jungle. And what do you know? We got wetlands, so we got immediate value out of the Sphere card, which is incredible for us, because while we were strong in the high-numbered wetlands, it would take a little bit of work for us to get there. I mean, we just picked up a way to deal with a single isolated Explorer, but now we don't even have to use it. So we can just sit on that tool for some future use, which is really nice. So going into this next turn, let's take a look at the heat map. We know that we're going to be just ranging Hunt right into that mountain, so we're strong there. Lands 1 and 3, they've got nothing, and they already have beasts, so 1, 3, and 7, all lands with beasts, with no invaders. We weakened our position in land number 5 by, removing a beast from that land. So, previous turn there was a beast there, now there's not, right? We're strong in land number 6. Whenever we damn well please, we can just kill off that town. And, we already have a way to deal with isolated Explorers. We have all kinds of ways to deal with a single Explorer. So if Sands comes up, it's not Sands 6 is going to be a problem, it's going to be Sands 1. Sands 1 now is not nearly as big of a problem, because if that Dahan transforms into a town because of the escalation, we've already got a beast there, so we can immediately kill that town, deny a city from being built, and then after it would build again, right? It would be an Explorer, a town, and then 2 beasts. So another ranging hunt would just solve it, right? We have plenty of ways to deal with that. So really our only 2 weak lands is they've kind of been the same ones for most of this game. So lands number 4 and 5. Because wetlands just came up, 4 is once again the reason that we are going to lose this game. If we do not win, it is going to be because of land number 4. So I tried to double blue that. I put 2 layers of the blue highlighter because that is the single biggest threat. If we can find a way to deal with this land, then we win the game, right? Now there'll be no other problems left to deal with it. So that is the sole thing that I'm thinking about. We're going to be able to kill off that city in land number 2. That's a thing that has to happen. But we've already got that in the bag. That takes no additional work, just playing cards with the right elements. Land number 4, we need something, and so I've got to dig for a major. Miners aren't going to cut it. I can move 1 blight a turn, so we could move a blight and reclaim, move another blight, and then try and get in there with our beasts, but I don't think that's going to be enough. So we'll see that I'm actually going to go for a major here. So we know that we're going to have to go for a major to start to deal with this wetlands. And if it is a fast major, we might be able to hold on to it for a turn. But a slow major, we would probably have to play now. And taking a look at it, we actually have a few interesting choices. The 2 on the right are restricted in the lands that they can target, and both of them do a good amount of damage, but neither of them can we can't threshold either of them because we're missing the water, and neither of them do enough damage without threshold to like really solve the land. Another one that I'm considering is Trees Speak of Stones in War, because we could push some Dahan in and then use that as a means of defense. But ultimately here, I'm taking Utter a Curse of Dread and Bone. We're going to be able to hit it for 3. And again, Sweden, the Strife is really powerful, being able to turn off all of the buildings and then, produce some fear. We could do like 3 Strife and then kill off an Explorer to like completely solve the land. But really, I'd like to play this card as aggressively as I possibly can. Badlands is just one of those just really, really powerful things that you can add. The disease, I'm not worried about at all. By the time we play this, it's going to be too late to prevent any stuff. But yep, so we're going to take that major, getting rid of our Explorer movement. We're basically at a point now where there's so few invaders on the board that we can easily pick off isolated Explorers anywhere. So to play this major, we do need a Sacred Site. So we're going to put that right there in the middle. It has the most number of adjacencies. And because it has the animal element, we can play it this turn while still hitting our ranging hunt. So that's a really important thing for us to hit. We have 5 energy, so by playing it this way, this leaves us with 1 energy, gives us the option to reclaim next turn. Had we played any other card that cost 1 energy, we would not be able to reclaim next turn, and based on how everything shakes out, it's just important to keep that option available to us. So we're executing our game plan, killing off the city, nothing to worry about. Population rises. It's really not that big of a deal. It weakens our position in the high sands, but otherwise, there's a lot worse events that could come up. Let's put it that way. Fear card does nothing because we have no invaders in lands with Dahan. Ravage does nothing, and then we build in the wetlands. Exploring the jungles is great. We are very strong in the jungles. We're already set up there with presence and beasts. So, this is basically a negligible exploration for us. We're already strong there, so it's whatever. Okay, Dread and Bone. We're adding some Strife. And I choose to play this aggressively because it was such a simple, easy explore. Now, if it explored into the mountains, I probably would have gone for the full Strife route. But because it went into the jungles where I'm already really strong, I have the ability to, just kind of stretch, go for broke here, try and get something lucky. And so at the end of the turn, this is the board. And let's take a look at that heat map. So as we can see here, we are still, our weak lands are the blighted lands. I could say, though, that land number 5, you could say that this is a strong land right now because we do have the capacity to move a blight in our hand, and there's already the beast there, so we could just kill off everything instantly. However, I'm choosing to leave that as weaker because we are still so focused on land number 4 that land number 5 could get away from us. The disease strengthens our position a lot in land number 6. So even if sands were to come up, it wouldn't be so bad because a city would not be built and something like Terrifying Chase could just solve the whole land and that would be all good and fine. And we could focus our efforts on land number 1. But, or we could just kill things, right? If it doesn't come up, we already have a beast there so we can gather one in, start killing off some towns. We're just in a very good, strong position. We're not immediately threatened, and if a threat ever does arise, we can take care of it. So, as you can see, more and more and more of the board is in our control. The invaders have fewer and fewer strongholds, so this is really feeling like a win to me. I think the The threats and the questions have basically completely been dealt with, and assuming any half-decent turn, we should be in for a good time. So, coming into turn number 5, if we make it through this turn, we're basically just guaranteed to win the game. Because really we're staring down the biggest threat that we've faced the entire game right now. This is the do or die moment. So we very well could reclaim, and we could just play sap here. That would be a less aggressive play. And I generally like to be a more aggressive player. So as we're going to see here, I'm going to choose to just go for it. To go out and gain a miner. There's so many miners that win it for us. So I felt pretty good about our odds. And here we're looking at 2 different defend cards. Additionally, there's like any number of fear cards would also solve it for us. So I am considering the 2 different types of defends because the being able to push a blight is really nice to get like a little bit of 2-for-1 value. If we were to play both of our like we could play 2 song cards, we get the fear either way, right? And defend is sufficient either way. But being able to push a blight is just a really powerful ability. Lets us, clean up everything that exists on the board. But I did consider that adding that extra animal will give us our right innate. So that's what I choose to go for. Thankfully, by playing those 3, we do have 3 moons. So we even get the free beast as well, which is a really nice bonus. And so since I've got the wetland solved and the jungle is going to be perfectly fine, I can let it build and I can immediately destroy the town. I'm going to take this opportunity where I have excess actions to just start getting after those sands. They're not a threat, but we have to kill them in order to win the game. So we're going to add a presence, transform our presence, and that's where we're going to use our ranging hunt. Let's see. What am I doing here? Yep. So because we already have a beast and an adjacent beast, it doesn't actually make a difference in terms of being able to kill a town or not. So I elect to, change the way that my presence is. So that way I have presence in more locations. Maybe I have like a range 0 ability. Come in, do the town, move a beast. I'm only moving 1 beast. So that way... Oh, I moved 2. Huh. That's surprising. Oh, okay. I guess I should have watched this before I started commenting on it. But, I wanted to leave 1 beast behind, so that way I can run right back in with another ranging hunt in order to kill that town. We prevent the build, so we don't even need to worry about using our ranging hunt there. And then here, we don't have any destroyed presence, so I'm just choosing to gather that Dahan in. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's still another stage 2 card that we're facing down. So we know it's either going to be mountains or sands, and if it is sands, I don't want to have that escalation. So I'm just kind of pushing some Dahan around to prevent escalation from happening. Okay, event card makes... the Explorer going to be stronger, but not too much to be worried about otherwise. Lets us add a beast for free, so that's all good and fine. It's kind of inconsequential. Some Dahan movements again. And then we get to remove an Explorer. So all of that work doesn't matter. It would have solved itself. We could have just removed the Explorer, but since we already have the defend, we can just remove the town, prevent the build, and we get mountains. So worrying about that sands for so long, that big old question mark we've been sitting on, never came to fruition, but hey, that's how it is sometimes. So now I know that, basically the game is won. I just need to focus on winning. So I choose to use my right innate to kill that city by doing 2 damage, plus 1 from the Badlands. Now there's only 2 towns left, and, we should be able to win this turn or the next turn immediately after. And so, my heat map is just, everything is good. Everything we're doing is great. The game is won. It's just a matter of going through the motions to actually execute it. Because we can kill the town and the explorer to prevent the build, right? We can push out the blight, kill all that stuff, put all our beasts into mountains number 2. We can kill all that stuff. Even if Sans comes up as an explorer, it's fine. We still have beasts there. An event might just win it for us. Like, we're so far ahead. The game is won. All right, yeah. So now we're just on the final stretch. Just gotta actually win. So right now I'm considering what I would do if I were to go for the reclaim 1 spot on the presence track. So I could just like gain a minor, and then like as you can see, I've got that left innate. So all these cards are perfectly good here. Right, just picking up fear just to push a fear victory, right? Because now that there's no cities and it's really hard for cities to be made, I am considering just pushing straight towards a fear victory. I could play that second one, whatever it's called, moving 2 explorers to prevent the build in mountains number 2. Constancy is constancy, so it's always good. And then a beast producing defend 4 is nice, although we already have 2 other defend 5s, so suddenly a sacred site requiring defend 4 is not nearly as exciting. So I really haven't had this for a long time. This decision's not super consequential, and I ultimately decided to just push for a fear victory. Okay, so we'll use Sky's Herald in order to push that blight out of the way. And then I can, execute the game plan. So kill the town. There's only 1 town left. Push a whole bunch of beasts into this mountain. Now, put both the beasts there. And then, going into the invader phase. Oh yeah, I added my presence there, and I realized I needed a sacred site in order to do the fear card, but it ultimately doesn't matter anyways because our event removed a town from the board, so we win.